There is a certain word in modern gaming that has been cropping up more and more as time has gone on, and that word is, of course, the infamous backlog. Having a backlog isn't inherently a bad thing. In fact, I myself also have a backlog. I feel like everybody, no matter who you are as a gamer, you have a backlog. There is games that you want to get to, there's games that you want to play. So when I make this video and when I'm talking in this video, don't think that I inherently have an issue with video game backlogs or that I have an issue with wanting to play new video games or wanting to collect video games, because it is quite the contrary. If you know me, I'm a huge video game collector and I have a massive, staggeringly long backlog. Longer than most people. Most gamers have a backlog of a couple hundred. I have my backlog on howlongtobeat.com and it's in the quad digits. With that being said, my issue with the backlog nowadays is, again, it's nothing to do with the games themselves, with the way that people go about it. It's with the way that gamers stress themselves out about their backlogs. Yes, there is gamers out there, and I didn't know how widespread of an issue this was until I started scrolling through Reddit. And then I started checking up on YouTube videos. And I realized this is a widespread issue. There is gamers out there that literally get stressed out about their backlogs. So, don't worry. This isn't going to be a video of me like ridiculing you or trying to make you feel bad about yourself. Rather, this is a video where I'm going to try to help you maybe feel better about your backlog. Because, I'm sitting here kind of making fun of that idea now. But I won't lie. There has been a couple of times where I have felt some feelings of stress because I've been sitting there like, am I going to be able to beat all these games before I die? So as I make this video, don't think of this video as coming from a place of bitterness or of a place of like lecture, but rather of a place of where I know where you're coming from, I know where you're dealing with. Because for the longest time, I was like, that's ridiculous. Like, who would be stressed out about having too many video games to play? Like, there's no such thing as too many video games. And then I got to the point of a couple of months ago where I was like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of games on my backlog. Am I going to be able to do this? And I started low-key stressing out about it for only about like a day though. And in the span of that day, I came to multiple realizations. The first one is, it's not a backlog. Do you want to know what a backlog is? A backlog is when you're still in high school and, these aren't actual textbooks, but we're just going to go ahead and pretend that they're textbooks for the context of this conversation. A backlog is when your history teacher comes up to you with a pile of textbooks and says, hey, I need you to read all of these before class tomorrow. These literally aren't textbooks though. This is like Lego Star Wars. Yeah, no, these aren't textbooks. But you get the point. Or when your boss at your office job comes in and he slams down the pile of papers and says, I need you to fill out all these papers, get them stamped, get them sent out to whoever by tomorrow. That is a backlog. A backlog of office papers, a backlog of textbooks. That is a backlog. It is something that you dread. It's something where you look at it and it's like, oh, I gotta deal with this backlog of papers. And now I'm going to go to the other side of my room real quick, and I am going to bring over a pile of games, and I'm going to explain why we should stop looking at these games as things that are on our backlog and, start looking at it from a different perspective. I have two exhibits that I would like to show you. So first we have Exhibit A. The Backlog Gamer. Now, I will confess, none of these games are on my backlog because I have absolutely no life, and this isn't my entire PS4 collection, by the way. This is maybe, like, half of it, maybe. Like, we're talking physical games. When it comes to digital games, that catalog goes even larger, but this is maybe, like, a little under half of my physical catalog. This is just what I could carry. So we have Exhibit A. The Backlog Gamer. They have all of these games that I literally can't even put on my desk at this point, and they look at this massive tower of games, and they go, where do I start? How am I ever going to beat these games? And they get literally stressed out about this. And again, this isn't coming from a place of lecture or a place of ridicule, because I have been in your shoes before. Well, I was in that place for about 24 hours before realizing how ridiculous it was. So the Backlog Gamer will start with, we're not going to start with Madden 16. No, we're just going to toss that one off to the side. No, thank you. We'll start with a game like Grand Theft Auto 5. They never played Grand Theft Auto 5 before. They get really excited before being struck with that oh-so-infamous analysis paralysis. They pick up Grand Theft Auto 5, really excited to dive into it, they really want to try it, before they look at the rest of the games in their backlog, and they go, is this really the game that I want to play today? Is this the best thing that I could be doing with my time? What if instead I went ahead and knocked Jump Force off the backlog, or Final Fantasy 15, or Diablo 3, or maybe Days Gone, or maybe the entire Dark Souls trilogy? Oh, look at that! It's a long RPG, Cyberpunk. Maybe I could play that instead, or maybe I could go through and knock out all of the Call of Duty games in the next week, or maybe I could die 1,000 times in Bloodborne, or maybe I could just go through Battlefield Hardline. I've heard good things about that one. Or maybe I could sell my soul to Ubisoft and give up my life for the next month and play Assassin's Creed Valhalla. No, I have an even better idea. I am going to rush through all of these games. According to howlongtobeat.com, if I skip out on all of the extra content inside of the Souls games, I could save myself 20 hours by only defeating the main bosses in Elden Ring and skipping out on all the extra side content in the world. So yeah, that's how we're gonna go about this. You know, for GTA 5, it's saying main plus extra is gonna take me about like 35 hours. How about we just rush through the main story, get it done in 15 hours, we'll be all set. Fast forward about 2 months later, and here is the Exhibit A gamer. He is absolutely drained. He has beaten all of these games at this point, and you wanna know something? He can barely retain anything from any of these games. He's looking at Assassin's Creed Valhalla like, I rushed through this one. I can barely tell you anything because I skipped through most of the dialogue. GTA 5, wait, the Strangers and Freaks missions, what are those? I only did the main story, my guy. Days Gone, I can't remember much about that. I just wanted to get through it. It was at a point of where I was stressing myself out, so I just kind of rushed through some of the stuff. I cranked the difficulty down just to get through it. Battlefield Hardline, honestly, I just played this one so I could check it off the list. Let me just clarify, this isn't like me, by the way. Like, this isn't how I actually play these games. Like Assassin's Creed, GTA, Days Gone, Battlefield, I actually took my time with all these games and played them thoroughly and like fell in love with all these games. This is just an example of the Exhibit A gamer, aka the modern gamer with a backlog. And I'm gonna tell you, you know, most times I would say there's no wrong way to experience games, but in this instance, yes, if you go through your backlog like this, which sadly, this is how many people tackle their backlog, you are playing the games wrong. You are robbing yourself of many experiences, and now it's time to move on to Exhibit B. Exhibit B is more close to how I look at games nowadays, not just nowadays, but how I've always looked at games. And while granted, my approach to playing these games and the way that I'm about to describe it is definitely different from how I do things nowadays, just because, again, I do still have a backlog technically, or a collection of games that I want to play through, but I also don't sit there stressing myself out about it. So we have the first game here, and this is for the Exhibit B gamer, and I don't really know how to describe this gamer, so we'll just go ahead and kind of lay the foundation for you guys. So this is a true story. Exhibit B is me. This is how I tackle my games. This is how I look at games. This is how I play through games. So the Exhibit B gamer, let's go all the way back to 2008. This Exhibit B gamer, he's a huge fan of Legos. He's been seeing all these Lego games, and he's been really excited about them. He's been getting like the Mr. Freeze Lego toys and his Happy Meals and such. And one fabled day, his parents come home from the game store in 2008. You know, I'm sitting there playing on, I believe I was playing something on the PS1. I was probably playing like Rampage. And all of a sudden, I am gifted this. Lego Batman, the video game. I played this game endlessly. As soon as I got it, I immediately fell in love. I took it, and this is my original copy from 2008, by the way. I opened it up for the first time. And I mean, even still opening it up, I was just like, I remember, because this was back in the day, right? Like, we didn't have as much money. When it came to finding out about games, it was through commercials or magazines or whatever. And I remember just opening up this game, looking on the inside. I remember taking out the manual, flipping through it. Like, before I even put the game in, I was just in awe at what I was holding. And I was, flipping through the manual back when manuals were still a thing. And I was just, my brain couldn't even contain the excitement for the adventure I was about to go on. I was reading through the back. I took out the disc. Let's go ahead and examine the disc. Oh my gosh, it's still in pristine condition today. I put this game in, and I did not put it down until I beat it. I played through the main story mode, and then I went through and played in the Arkham Asylum mode. And I remember I went through and I even 100%ed this game. Now, I'm not saying you need to 100% every game. Of course not. But what I am saying is, the thing that, the problem with the backlogs is it deters from your enjoyment of the games, whether you realize it or not. Whether you actively are trying to rush through the games, or whether you're just subconsciously trying to get through it at a bit of a heightened pace just so you can get to the next game on the backlog, you're taking away from your own enjoyment of the game and your own experience and your ability to truly fall in love and get immersed in the game if you're trying to just go game to game to game to game. And again, I'm somewhat guilty of this, or at the very least I was in the past. Like, there was a couple of times where I was just trying to get to the next game, but nowadays I've realized, screw howlongtobeat.com, screw all this stuff. Who cares how long a game is? If you want to play a game, play a game. The most important thing I realized is one day we're all gonna die. And whether we beat these games or not, it's not gonna matter. Do you want to know why? Because we're gonna be dead. like how can you care if you're dead? Think about this realistically. When you're dead, what is there? You're underground, you're dead, you're buried, you're seeing nothing but black, or maybe you're in heaven or, wherever else, depending on your religion. But your time on this earth, your physical time on this earth is gone, is over. So who's going to care? Are you going to care? No, because you're dead, you're underground. Who cares? You're dead. Is anybody else going to care? No, they don't care about your specific backlog. They got their own backlog to take care of. So why rush through all these games and stress yourself out and make it like your secondary job on top of your already stressful 9 to 5 or full-time job or whatever job you do, when gaming is supposed to be an escape? It's supposed to be a hobby. I mean, for me, my job is to play video games and, make videos on them and talk about them. And whenever I'm not making videos, I'm playing games, you know what I mean? Like, I spend most of my time playing games or making content based around playing games. So for me, as corny or cliche as it sounds, for me, and most of you can probably relate to this, gaming isn't just a hobby. It's like more or less a lifestyle. So, whether it is just a hobby, supposed to be a fun getaway for you, or whether it's your lifestyle, no matter what your circumstances are, why stress yourself out about it? Why look at this pile of games and get stressed out? Like, back in 2008, if I got this one game, I would have been happy. If I would have been gifted a stack of games like this, do you know how ecstatic I would have been? I would have been set. I would have looked at this and thought, this is it. This is all that I need until the day I die. Now, realistically, I ended up beating all these games in less than a 2-month span. But that being said, that's how things were back then. You took your time, you grabbed a game, you were like, I am ready to get immersed in Lego Incredibles. I had like a 1-month span where I sat there rushing through a bunch of games, just trying to get them done. I was like, I'm gonna get this backlog done. And it honestly wasn't enjoyable. And nowadays, I'm back to my 2008 roots. I grab a game, I look at it. I don't know why Madden is on. We're gonna put Madden off to the side indefinitely. Let's look at a game like Cyberpunk, one of my top 5 favorite games of all time. Do you want to know why? I didn't rush through the main story. I wasn't just trying to check it off the list. I took this game, I looked at it, I looked at it head on, and I was like, I'm going to play this game, and I'm going to fall in love with it. And as I just stated, it's in my top 5 favorite games of all time. And so is Lego Batman, by the way. Lego Batman's in my top 5 of all time, and so is Cyberpunk. And keep in mind, in 2022, I beat 160 games, and so far in 2023, I've beaten 90 games. And I could have made so much more progress. I bet by now, with how much I play games, I probably could have beaten like over 100, over 120 at this point if I would have rushed through games. But instead, I'm only at 90 for the year, which again for most people is probably still a good bit. But for me personally, I'm like 30 to 40 games behind where I could have been, just because I've decided that I'm going to slow down. I'm going to take my time. And like Cyberpunk, for example, I beat the main story in only about like maybe 3 days, because the main story, or no, it was actually only like 2 days, because from what I remember, the main story only took me maybe like 12 to 13 hours to beat. So yeah, I knocked that out in about 2 days. And then after that, I spent like the next week just going through and 100% in the game, because I absolutely fell in love with the world, and I experienced all these different side quests. I went for all the different endings, and I got truly attached to this world. I fell in love with like Judy and all the other characters of the game, like Jackie, and I just never wanted it to end. And I remember on the final day when I completed the last ending, and then I went back and finished the final side quest chain, I sat there with one of the people that's like friends with the main character V in the game, and I remember it was at the end of a mission, and you're sitting there on top of like this tower thing, and you're just staring off to the sunset, you're sipping your beers or whatever, and I remember just sitting there like, man, this is the last time that I'm going to play Cyberpunk. And I had this whole emotional moment where I was reflecting my entire journey between the main story, between the side quests, between all the different endings I got, all the different crazy times with Johnny Silverhand, and I don't know, there was that moment where I was just sitting there like, this is one of the best games that I've ever played. And if I would have just stuck to the main quest, knocked it out in 2 days, and moved on to the next team, this would probably be nothing more than like another one on the list. But because I sat there and took the time to have that kind of experience with this game, it is now one of my top 5 of all time. And since then, that's how I've been treating every single game that I play. I take the time to open it up. I'm not going to open this one up because a bunch of stuff falls out, but I take the time to open it up, look at the disc, look at the back, or even if it's a digital game, I'll go to the store page, I'll scroll through the screenshots, I'll read the description, do whatever I can just to get myself excited and ready for the game. And I'm not saying you need to 100% every game, not even close. You don't need to do all the side quests even if you just stick to the main quest and that's all you want to do. All I'm trying to say is, stop looking at it as like this long, stressful checklist where it's like, oh, I gotta beat this, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Stop stressing yourself out. Just go into each game excited for it, and just take your time. Whether it takes you 1 day, 5 days, 10 days, who cares? Just make sure that you make the most of your experience. If you stop after the main story, that's okay. If you stop after all the side quests, that's okay. If you don't even beat the game, period, that's okay. As long as you had your fun, that's what counts. And if you decide to 100% it, awesome. Games are games. They're meant to be savored. They're meant to be enjoyed. Whether it's a short game like a Memoir Blue that you beat in an hour, or whether it's a game like Assassin's Creed Valhalla that takes you upwards of 100. As long as you enjoy your time and your experience, whether you beat it or not, whether you 100% it or not, whether you stick to the main quest or not, just make sure you're actually soaking in that experience and you're not just rushing through it to check another one off the list. Because at the end of the day, well then, if that's what you're doing, what's the point? Rather than looking at a stack of games or looking at your stack of, digital games and, just going through to check another one off the list as fast as you can to get through the whole pile and then feeling rather empty at the end, why not instead just go a game at a time and get back to that feeling back in, the early 2000s or whenever, however old you are, whatever time it is, where, you're a kid and you get that one game and you're so excited to play that one game. When we were young, we got that one game, we looked at it, we were excited, we were ready to play for the next couple of months. Whether you pick up a game and you plan to play for the next couple of months or whether it's just the next couple of days until you beat it, no matter what it is, that's the feeling we need to get back to. When you pick up a game and you just go, you open it up and you just feel that inner childish joy of yes, I'm gonna play this, I'm gonna enjoy this. That's the problem with modern video game backlogs. It's not necessarily the backlogs themselves, and I know this video is probably much longer than it needed to be, but sometimes I'm bad at constructing my thoughts, and I was just making sure I got out everything that I needed to say on the subject. No matter what it is, no matter how you go about playing your games, just make sure that you're still falling in love with them, that you're still enjoying them, that you're still taking that time, whether it's physical or digital, to just take it all in. I don't know. This is just something that I'm really passionate about. It's something that I've been seeing online for a long time, and don't look at it as a backlog of games. I mean, just remember, when we were children, this is all we could have ever asked for. This is all we would have ever wanted. We're literally living our childhood dreams, and we're allowing our childhood dreams to stress us out. Why? Stop getting stressed out about your backlog. Just play the games, fall in love, and enjoy them. If you beat them all, cool. If not, that's cool too. One day we're all going to be dead, and at that point it won't matter. So just make the most of the time you have, and if you get through them all, cool. If you don't, cool. As long as you make the most of your time, that's what matters. As long as you're having fun, that's what matters. At the end of the day, would you rather die knowing that you rushed through all of these games and you barely had any connection to them and you barely felt satisfied afterwards? Or would you rather die knowing that you fell in love with so many great experiences and took your time to truly soak them in and have all this wellspring of knowledge and love and true passion for these games? I don't know about you, but I'd definitely rather go with option B, because since I've chosen to play my games this way, well, I have so many experiences and so much love for all of these games here and so many more that I didn't even pull out of my collection, because I literally have hundreds of physical games at this point. I won't drag this video out anymore. I know it's been going for a while and I know I should probably wrap things up, but this, again, is just something I'm passionate about, just something I wanted to get out there, and hopefully it helps somebody out there. Just remember, slow down and take it all in. Just allow yourself to fall in love, allow yourself to get consumed with that childish joy, and just let's all make an effort to just open up our games and get back to that feeling. Remember, it's not a backlog. It's your childhood dream come true. But anyway, as always, a massive shout out and thank you to all the patrons and channel members. Thank you to all of you in the low baller tier, and an even bigger shout out and thank you to all of you in the big baller tier, Mellow Last King and Big Daddy Matty. And the biggest shout out and thank you to all of you in the G tier, Rodden Vengeance and Little Cheese Girl. Thank you guys so much. You guys are literal legends. I love you. Thank you guys for watching. Have an amazing day. Stay beautiful. I love you all. Peace.